Шановні колеги, сьогодні в фокусі уваги українського
Ukrainian Media Center of Reforms starts its briefing. Last week, the president have signed the law on e-commerce, and the market agents say it will give a big push to the market development. And it's my pleasure to invite lawmakers who participated in drafting this law, Ms. Olga Belkova and Olena Minic. Madam Belkova is Member of Parliament, and Ms. Olena Minic is representative of the Ministry of Trade and Economic Development, and Svetlana Yazykova, representative of the Modna Kasta project. Dear journalists, thank you for the interest shown to the passage of this law on e-commerce. For me, it's not the draft law anymore, and I'm very happy because I spent 3 years drafting and promoting passage of this law. Politicians quite seldom manage to pass the law which does not change the situation in the market and nevertheless introduces the rules in the market. And I'm very happy that this time also those who participated in e-commerce up to the last week, now they have this law which legalizes their business and set specific rules. I think that electronic commerce in Ukraine has a huge potential for growth, and my colleagues would add on this issue. As a politician preparing this law, I had the 2 objectives: that e-commerce should be recognized by the state, and the second, that customers and market agents in the e-commerce should be protected by the law and recognized by the state. Without such legal field, business is unable to get investments, while customers without playing in legal field, they cannot expect to find any remedies in case of any disputes in case of e-commerce. That's why a couple of words about the law. The law recognizes that electronic form of the contract is equal to the hard copy contract, which means that ordinary customer can use electronic documents as proofs of concluding the contract in case of any dispute and submission to court, for example. Also, the commercial agents can use the same electronic forms as the proofs of their economic activity. As for the electronic signature, of course, our current legislation on the issue is obsolete. We have introduced with one-time identificator. This is an electronic key, an electronic code which is received by the customer via email or SMS. The objective is to simplify conclusion of contracts without the use of electronic signatures or other analogs of this ideas. This is not single signature which is recognized by the law on e-commerce. It recognizes all conventional signatures also. Then we tried to distinguish the legal status of the supplier and protect the rights of the customer. So, since all the agreements and contracts are set in online mode, and that's why we very clearly set obligations and rights of the parties, which are not different from what is provided by the civil code, but they are clarified here once again. Then we regulated the storage of personal data, then regulated relations between suppliers of auxiliary services typical for e-commerce, and introduced some time frames for operations and regulated conclusion of electronic contracts. Appearance of e-commerce changes, of course, civil commercial relations, civil legal relations in Ukraine. That's why this entailed further changes to the civil code, to the law on protection of personal data, and to the law on electronic documents, and to the law on accounting. The objective was to limit participation of occasional people in this business, to cut down the possibilities for fraud in this law, to protect customers, and to establish smooth relations between traders and customers. And during the period when the law was under preparation during the last 3 years, the realities in this e-commerce market have changed, and very soon I expect that we will meet with the business community and decide what could be improved. So I would like to clarify, you involved business structures to cooperation. Did you involve representatives of the judiciary? Because quite often when with such new areas, when it comes to court, the judges or similar people, they are unable to understand these new spheres. I think that first we need to have some disputes, and then we will see how it will work. And doing this, we will cooperate with all the bodies which may initiate court proceedings. The passage of the law procedure allows to involve representatives of all the stakeholders. With the appearance of this law, documents produced in course of e-commerce might be used in courts. Olena, how do you think?
How will this impact? What will be the consequences of that law? I would like to say what will this law give to the economy and for the development of this sector. In the first quarter of this year, the European Union did a very detailed research in 6 countries of European community and in Ukraine. One of the aspects was e-commerce. 5 key aspects that concern mostly, that are of concern, is the respect of the rights of the parties in the internet, also the competition and the consumer rights and the protection of consumer rights in such transactions. Fourth is so-called electronic invoicing, and the fifth is e-logistics. Unfortunately, when this research was carried out, the law wasn't passed. That was approved in the first reading, but that wasn't the law, and these norms were not effective on the territory of Ukraine, and that is why we received very low assessment talking about e-commerce in Ukraine, even though now we have more than 10,000 different e-commerce shops and more than 20 million items of goods are sold there. But certain basic things were not made legal. And now it's great that e-document, e-contract is now the same document to confirm your relations between the buyer and the seller. We were assessed a little better from the point of view of competition, but talking about consumer rights, trust marks, the catalog of websites which could be trusted, we don't have it. I hope we will have it later, but e-invoicing and the logistics, they were not included into the draft law, and that these are the next steps that you will see. Now, talking about the rights and responsibility in the internet, Olga mentioned it correctly, that the rights of intermediaries were defined correctly. And also we will need to work more on the responsibilities. That is some new thing for us, and plus this is the requirement of integration, of association agreement with European Union. From the point of view of the growth of e-commerce on the territory of Europe, for example, their objective is 50% of the small and medium-sized business should trade via e-commerce. That reduces the costs. This way they believe that in Europe it will save about 11 billion euros a year if small and medium-sized business switches to trade in online. In Ukraine, we don't have such official statistical data, but I believe, well, now we have some information that 89% of businesses use websites for something. If 50% of them start using them to promote their goods, then we will reduce the costs for distribution, for the cost per unit, and this way we will reduce prices and will improve competition. In half a year we will have, I hope, more data that we'll be able to share with you. Thank you. Now the representative of business, please tell us how was that before and how will it be now. Are you planning to introduce any changes in your work? Thank you. First of all, I am the only representative of the industry, even though there are many of us. And we have been waiting for a long time for that. So first of all, on behalf of the industry, I would like to welcome signing of the law. And now we can talk about not just the project, but the law. It took long time for the legislator to pass that law, And we've been waiting for a long time till this type of economic activity, e-commerce, is recognized as something existing in Ukraine. Now we, just like in Europe, like all over the world, we are recognizing that this type of activity can bring income, can bring very good economic effect, and it could be beneficial for both the economy of Ukraine and the businesses, that this will not be treated as some gray field where you can earn money in internet because you are avoiding paying taxes. I would like to agree with Olga. I believe that this is a great thing, that the law, the authors of the law did not have the objective to create some restrictions or framework for the business models in Ukraine. And this was basically formalizing the business practices which exist in the market, like just businesses like us. We don't now need to change anything in our models of activities because the law states all that. Also, I would like to mention that the law, its task, the task of the law is to set the direction where legislation is to move and to develop, to put some grounds for other legislation to develop, so that special regulations and bylaws then could be developed to regulate what hasn't been regulated yet. It's wrong to believe that the law on e-commerce should have the rules which would set terms for executing payments. For that, there is a special legislation. It would be wrong to believe that the law on e-commerce should have the norms which regulate the relations between the consumer and the business, or the business and the tax bodies. Just understanding the main direction of the movement, we can start developing the regulations and the bylaws, which will explain how tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, to carry out activities which are to be licensed. These are the rules which we are still waiting for. That is something that is to be developed in the future. How should the payments be received when the courier just brings the order to your apartment? First of all, I would like to thank Olga, who hasn't been giving up during these 3 years, despite the fact that the governments were being changed and parliaments were being changed. And also, I hope that the work on the regulations and legislation will continue like it was happening before, with the involvement of businesses and experts, so that the rules of game are mutually beneficial for the consumers, for businesses, and for the state. Any questions? You have the question. You're welcome. Vitaly Knyazhansky, Den newspaper. He is a buyer. I bought not that this pair of shoes, but different. But they promised me something cheaper, but I had to pay more. I could not sign any contract. So, do you believe are the relations between those who sell some products and the delivery? Are these relations normal? Maybe there's some kickback, because in Kiev the delivery cost 130 hryvnias. Well, is that normal? As a consumer, I don't think that the delivery, which is 130 hryvnias, maybe that was some VIP type of delivery, but talking about pricing, this is a little beyond the regulations. In the market, we have the fair and unfair participants, and when we are talking about signing the contract, this should be the contract of selling and buying the sneakers. What is this contract? These are main terms. The thing that you are buying, the price, how you get it, and even if it is not in the contract, your right as a consumer is you can return within 14 days the good that did not satisfy you. So non-specifying the price is a violation, which means, well, how can you find out how much you have to pay if the price of the good hasn't been indicated? I wouldn't like to emphasize a lot on that situation, because I believe that that is somewhat artificial, because usually people know what they pay for what they get. So basically, your seller did not inform about the terms of the delivery. Then you realize that you have to pay for the delivery. I cannot hear. The law on electronic commerce will make responsible all the sellers. Basically, the law talks about all the terms that should be included into the contract, or all the information that the seller has to inform the buyer about. We always indicate all these things. Maybe you would like to add anything. Any other questions? Thank you to the speakers. The main thing is that we've heard that the business which is in e-commerce is legal in Ukraine now, and we hope that that will change the attitude of controlling bodies, and we will have less scandals. Now we've heard that in half a year we will receive some results, and we invite you to tell us about the results, and we are looking forward to see some other steps. Thank you. The work of UCMC is over for today. Tomorrow is a very busy day, and there will be many interesting discussions.